Creative Folkestone. This is the Tuesday, third of our lunchtime talks for Open Quarter. This is all about musicians. Before I start, I just want to give a thanks to our funder from the European Union for the Cupido project, which is helping us fund Open Quarter this year. I'm going to hand over to our chair, Anna Braithwaite. I need to give you a heads up. One of our speakers is coming, but he's literally running down the hill now. So I thought rather than delay, because you're all pretty using up your lunch hours, we're going to start, but Randolph is going to join us as he does. So, yes, I know it's a bit unusual, but I thought let's start anyway. So I'm going to hand over now to our chair, Anna Braithwaite.
Hello. Oh, I'm ginormous. Hello. Oh, that's better. Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for turning up in your lunchtime. My name's Anna Braithwaite, and some of you may recognise me from this stage or other stages or sites around Folkestone. I've been here for 8 years, and I've been creating music and performance during that time, mostly inspired by the town itself. And I've been really excited to be asked to chair this talk today because I get to talk to some of my favourite performers locally. So let me introduce them to you as well, Josie Matcham and Denice Dever. Try your levels, hello. Ladies.
1, 2, hello.
1, 2. Josie,
1,
give
2.
us. Yeah. It's made us go really low, hasn't it? So, I've just given everyone a bit of... Oh, actually, you could show the slides of me if you like, Elliot. There I am. So, that looks like it was performed in here, actually, but it wasn't. That was a COVID performance. There's a choir of people behind me being projected via Zoom into the theatre. And I was there stuck on a box because I had to be 6 metres away from the audience because of COVID. And I wasn't allowed to move for an hour. That was that was my first experience of performing in COVID times. And it was pretty scary, actually. It was called Persephone's Dream, and it was created by Tanya Holland-Williams of Fat Lady Opera, who's based in Hythe. And she's a very busy lady around Folkestone. You may have seen some of her musical activity here as well. It was part of the trial by the government into, I suppose we're guinea pigs, just to see if we'd catch COVID if we did a show. Luckily, I don't think anyone did. The audience all sat with masks in little huddles. So it was really relaxed atmosphere. But no, I'm painting it as quite a negative experience. It was really interesting and kind of something I don't think I ever would have done if it hadn't been for COVID. So there are lots of exciting things that have come out of that. This second picture is from a really recent piece I've been doing in Chatham with Helen Linden, who's a local artist and has graced us with her presence today. Here she is. It's called Moonseed. It's about the moon, but it was also created because of COVID. In that Helen and I have been working with a local dancer from Tunbridge called Luke Birch in this space, last seen here during Profound Sound, February 2020. And we found, once we were stuck in our homes, that we wanted to reconnect, which we did via Zoom. And we also thought, well, while we can do this from our homes, we could sort of get involved with other people. And we've got 2 dancers from Canada that have been working with us as well. In Chatham, we projected them into the space, which was technically challenging, more than you'd think, actually. And it was a really exciting experience, and again, sort of made me work in a completely different way. But that's the kind of summing up of the sort of thing that I do. Ah, hello. Randolph Matthews, everybody. Catch your breath, Randolph. You're at the end there, so we'll start with Denice. Denice, you're one of the first people I met when I got here. You're very busy on the local scene. obviously I've interacted with you through my music, but your work covers art, festivals, performance art, all sorts of things. But tell me what role music plays in the work that you do.
So yeah, in terms of music for us, certainly we've been doing Profound Sound now for...
And who's us?
So this is, I'm part director of Folkestone Fringe with my sister Diane, and we have a young team of young producers that we work with, and we've been just upskilling them for the last sort of 5 years, and they're all now starting to do their own great things. And so for me, particularly Profound Sound in terms of music has been enabling lots of local artists here to basically just try and test things out. So we've been lucky enough to get funding through the Arts Council and bring in more professional international musicians to work with us and work with them to sort of make them feel confident and feel, you know, pushed and sort of begin to deliver things that then don't necessarily feel they've got the confidence to do. So it's been a really lovely building block for young talent here in Folkestone.
And old talent like me.
And old talent.
No, but seriously, when I first got here, I didn't know where to perform. I didn't know who, who's doing things, and, you know, meeting people from the Folkestone Fringe was a great way in for me to really set my career up here. So not only are you helping people at the beginning of their careers, but you help people who are partway through, perhaps mid-career as well, to grow an audience. And that's something that I think Folkestone could be really proud of, actually, the audience for really quite whacking out their music. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I would definitely say that Folkestone Fringe has become a connector of dots. So people sort of coming in from outside, and we're able to just sort of map them together and make sure that they're aware of who is here. Certainly what's been going on for the last few years, we've had some really incredible musicians coming into this town, and it's been great to sort of get them to collaborate with local musicians here and just see where that actually goes. So yeah, connector, and great to collaborate with them, because, you know, an idea is just 5%, but actually what happens in that rest of that 95%, you just don't know where it's going to go. And this town is very much able to sort of host that and welcome that as part of an audience. So I think we're very lucky.
Yeah, the freedom you give people allows them to grow, though. And that's very generous of you as an organisation. But I have, like you said, the young people as well that you work with. I remember Mitch starting out, and then he sort of come up the ranks through Profound Sound, and I think both he and Greg really like putting on that event, and when you're kind of working with the triennial and stuff like that, and you're thinking, oh, I'm so busy, gosh, and they're like, Profound Sound. So they've kind of almost taken it over themselves as well, haven't they, as something that they're really proud of. And
yeah, and you know, they've built up the skills, the production skills, to be able to bring the artists in, make sure that they've got all of their technical needs, and yeah, they've really come to their own in that festival. Music, I mean, for young people is so integral, so allowing them to have a space to sort of be really proud of a festival that they're involved in producing is something really great. And it happens in February, so it's the time when everything's a little bit dark and people want to sort of come out of the light, and it's a really good way to get people together in an environment that's very open, very welcoming. Yeah.
You make it accessible to a young audience as well, don't know. How do you do that?
I suppose it's through the content, really. You know, it's the breadth and it's the range of different types of artists. It will be through some of the young people that are actually producing their own music as part of it, so they'll bring their audience. And then through that, it just continues to build, doesn't it? And you just reach out a little bit further, maybe a bit into Kent, or you have more known artists coming in that people are like, oh, I'd like to see them. So,
yeah, what collaborations are you particularly proud of having kind of nurtured?
There is one that is upcoming, which is something that actually came out from, and this is just a small example of what can happen here in Folkestone. So a very good friend of mine is an incredible drummer. And during COVID, during the drive-in, he had a little moment where he reached out on his Instagram feed and he was feeling a little bit low. And from that, a really famous artist, Dan Nichols from the Comet is Coming, has then got in touch with David. And once David told me this, I sort of suggested he'd invited him to go into his rehearsal studio. So I said, how about if I give you just a little bit of money to see where this goes? So this has then spun into an incredible gig that's going to happen on Saturday night at the Goods Yard at 7 p.m, which involves The Comet is Coming, Square Pusher, and Johnny Tomlinson, homegrown from Bonobo Live. And so, yeah, we have got 5 incredible musicians that will be on stage at 9 p.m, supported by a local band, which is Calibre, and also DJ Cedric Carr. And that's kind of what can happen here. So it's an opportunity for a young person with a tiny bit of money. And that's the power of what can take place here with the right opportunity. So yeah, that's something that is an example of just how things can happen here in Folkestone, which I'm very privileged to be able to sort of do.
Thank you. Josie Matcham, tell us about you.
Hi, I'm a piano and vocal teacher locally. I'm born and bred in Folkestone. Went to university in Guildford, but other than that, I've been teaching for the last few years. As part of my practice, I've mainly been teaching young people, under 18s really, and it's through teaching that age group that I've kind of come to realise that the opportunities for that age group to come together musically, maybe there aren't as many as we would like at the moment, but the enthusiasm for it is huge. And so I've been working and talking to people for the last few months about how we can fix that in Folkestone and how we can come up with some more opportunities for young people, for young musicians to meet each other, collaborate with each other, meet older musicians that are working in the area, collaborate, learn from them, get as much experience as they can. And really the aim is to help them realise what they can achieve through music. Because I think even in my lessons when I'm teaching, what we achieve together is massive, and it's things that they didn't realise they could do, and that's just through me. But when you see them working together, well, we all know what it's like to collaborate with other musicians, and when you're working together and what you achieve and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about what you've created is a game changer. And so I'm really, really passionate about creating some more opportunities for that to happen in Folkestone.
Did you have anything like that when you were starting out?
So, yeah, this is where the ideas come from. But when I was younger, when I was a teenager, there were more gigs happening in Folkestone. There were more venues, and so it wasn't necessarily that there was a formal structure in place that we were going to particular institutions or we were going to organised events. It was just that we were able to see an age group just a little bit older that were gigging and promoting and sharing ideas and writing together. And I remember for me that was really inspiring. And then my friends and my peers, we would want to be like them, we would want to do it, and we got together. And I think that's a little bit of a gap at the moment that I've realised is there. And it's a really big topic to tackle, because there's lots of things at play there. Finances, venues, spaces to practice, and just ways that we can facilitate it. That's what the aim, I think, is to create a self-sufficient community going where everything is working on its own level, and one group is inspiring the next group, and the youngsters are inspiring the elders, and we're all working together, and it's just that cohesive structure in place.
Sounds like utopia. I like it. I like it. So, do you have a name for your?
So we're going under the name Metaxu Collective at the moment, and that's myself and a few other local professional musicians who we all realised that we had the same thoughts and ideas. But we're going under the name Metaxu because Metaxu means middle ground, and essentially that's what we're looking to be, just the people that are helping other groups come together, and we're wanting to help people, and we're wanting people to help us, and like I said, that we're all just working together for this common goal.
I'm really interested by that work, and I think there's quite a connection with what Denice has been doing as well. What about you as a solo artist?
What about me as a solo artist?
You any good? Got any albums I can buy?
Oh yeah, top 10. I actually, and this is really interesting, I've just completed a master's degree, and I wrote a little bit about this for my dissertation, that I found when I was younger, my confidence was rock bottom, and actually it's been over the last few years working with people, seeing the contribution that I can make within the community and to others, and reflecting on how that's developed me personally and in my musicianship. And when I first started teaching, it was very much, don't watch me play, don't look at me, I don't want to do it at all. And now, in how I've managed to support other people and encouraged other people, I think they, in turn, without realising it, have supported me. And recently, I've been getting much more confident in arranging, and I've started writing again. And yeah, so that's me. Just watch this space, I guess.
I will be. So, Randolph Matthews, everyone. Tell us a bit about you.
Hello, everybody. So I am a performer and composer. I'm based in Folkestone. I've been living in Folkestone for the last 6 years. And I suppose as a musician, my love has been for touring, working across different multi-disciplinary art forms, and finding different ways to express that truthfully as an artist, as I develop and grow as a person. And yeah, I think my sort of feeling in terms of where I'm at now is, at this present moment, I just managed to get some funding from the Arts Council to be able to do a residency with the Creative Folkestone for a year. And this kind of was spurred on for, I would almost like to say it's been the 6 years of being here that this has been in conversation in myself, first and foremost, from walking the streets of Folkestone and seeing the different types of organisations that are working, the need for more outlet for music and expression, the different levels of children and schools and how they are interacting with their environment, and as well for somebody of colour being in Folkestone, how these different communities are either working together and using what is naturally there for them to express, and if they can find a way to express. And coming from a big city like London, for example, you're saturated with ideas and expressions, and people want you for many different things. And I think sometimes you can get caught up in what people want you for. And as opposed to developing the art form that you went into doing art for in the first place. And I can still remember being 17 or 18 years old and making that sort of conscious decision that I wanted to do music, and I had no idea what that meant, but I was going to burn all my bridges and continue with this path. But I didn't necessarily know it was going to be a path which was about communities and about using art as a way to bridge gaps in relationship to discrimination, and finding ways to embed yourself in your community by unraveling the history and the stories that are in this community as it stands. And so for this year, I'm really very, very excited about the prospect of being able to work across different the program of the Creative Folkestone, and seeing how my input can add something of value as I will grow and develop through the process as well, because I don't know what it is yet. All I know is I have this opportunity to have the time to express and to unravel what the sound of Folkestone can be, alongside all this wonderful work which is happening as well. Because I think I love Folkestone very, very much, and for me it deserves the best of me as an artist, and it has given me the opportunity as an artist to come back to that central point of listening a lot more before I just react and just respond to something, and then even just having a little bit of support helps me to be able to listen a lot more over a longer period of time for the best ideas.
You're reminding me slightly of the kind of enforced break that I felt during COVID. You know, that not touring anymore. There is more time to listen, isn't there? How's your practice developed during COVID, and has it taken you in any interesting directions?
My practice has gone through the roof. But that's the only way I can put it. I never knew it was something that I needed until it turned up, until I had nobody calling me. And that's a nice feeling. For me, it was a really, really good feeling for a moment, because it allowed me to detach from, only 2 years now. This environment has changed, and I have changed. But I definitely realized that my practice has become more refined and almost complete, came back to a full circle, which was actually even me using the word composing. I would have said a touring artist before, but it's just like actually composing was always what led me to tour in the first place, whether it was through projects or actually directly on my own. So it allowed me an immense and very valuable time to start to put the groundwork in, to work across different platforms, and that, I think, innovating across different platforms was a big thing that came up over the last period. My ability to use my skill set across different platforms led to me putting this application in as well, because I kind of felt this, I can walk into those different environments. I love people, and I love connecting with people. If anything, that is the way that I connect through to people, is through my creation. And so I recognize that, just as a simple example, I've put out more music. More music has gone to projects in the last 10 months than the last 5 years of being an artist. So that really told me a lot in a very, very short space of time. And that wasn't performing, it was literally just music going to film, or music going to, I was literally just finished working with the National Youth Dance Company, and it was an amazing project, but I saw my skill set changing as it was happening, from facilitator to then becoming a composer to now a composer-producer. So
that's really exciting. It feels like it might have connected you more through collaborations to Folkestone itself as well. Because if you're not out touring, you're actually here making the work. And I've noticed that you're collaborating with the local dance group, with Michaela, Fish Out of Water. Really enjoyed the show.
thank you.
Actually, I want to ask you a nerdy question about the technology you were using after.
Anytime you want.
Okay. But also with Terry Smith as well. You're going to be in here, aren't you, on Saturday night?
That's right.
That seems... I don't know everything about your back catalogue, but it seems like that might be one of these projects you're talking about that's taking you in a slightly different direction.
If I was to put it in a very simple way, I've always been somebody who performs to people. And sometimes to my own exasperation. I'm trying to perform to people. That's a different thing. But I think what's happened in this last period is I've taken off that hat. I want to perform, but the whole concept of performance has come back to its roots for me, which is not necessarily that I've got to be smiling Randolph to everybody, but I can do beautiful pieces of work. So for me, working with dancers and actually putting it in creating music for dancers is because I'm looking at the performances. So performance is always a driving force towards it. But what I'm coming back to is possibly, again, solo performances, but using music and using the creative arts of performance art and interdisciplinary art forms, which embed what performance is in a more multifunctional way, as opposed to me necessarily being the lead person to perform. It's actually the piece is more what I'm interested in.
Yeah. So Josie, how have you found the sort of imposed lull in gigging and things for you over the last 18 months?
For me, what it's brought out is how much people love it and want to be doing it, and everyone has been so excited to have opportunities to start doing it again, and people are really appreciating it much more, and it's really brought out the idea of people being together, coming together in a space and experiencing something together, which we've managed to do online, definitely, but it's a completely different experience when you're in the room, experiencing it together.
So what things have you done online? Have you done your own performances, or have you been enjoying other people's performances?
So I've been teaching online, and performance-wise, I've been watching other people's performances online. I got to see my favourite musician, Jamie Cullum, who's my favourite pianist of all time. He did a gig on Zoom, just on his own, which was really nice.
Was it just for you?
It was just for me.
Oh, that's lovely.
I was hoping. He did a Q&A, and I was desperate for my question to get picked, but I didn't. So, yeah. So it's great. It's great to. I think you can appreciate things from a different dimension online, and there is a sense of a different kind of intimacy where people might be performing differently to how they would be on stage. But for me personally, it's about experiencing it with other people, I think.
Yeah, Denice, have you taken any of your musical work online with Folkestone Fringe and with the Harbour?
What did we do? I mean, in COVID, we kind of took a break, I think, really. Just used that time, certainly for me, just to have a slower pace of life. We didn't necessarily... I don't think we actually did. We really did just sort of took some time out, which is rare for us to have. So it was in a different...
You did set up an outdoor drive-in cinema, obviously, at one point. But
that aside. But
that
little thing.
But in terms of Fringe, yeah, we just got... Well, actually, that's not true at all. I'm completely forgetting...
You did a project,
yes.
didn't you, about
Yeah, we did, and we actually got some Arts Council emergency funding so that the kids, the young people that we work with, could remain active and sane through it. So they led 3 projects, actually, and a lot of that was delivered online. Apologies, Folkestone Fringe, for completely forgetting that. And that was interesting for them to sort of, you know, we were having our weekly meetings online, and, yeah, we just felt that they really needed something to get their teeth into because they just felt so isolated. So they came up with some projects that allowed people to engage with them, you know, on their own, in isolation. And we created some walks that people could encounter. And yeah, it was actually really lovely, but it was a very different way of producing work, which...
Is that going to influence your future work, do you think? Or is it like, nah?
No. I think we all learnt quite a lot from that, actually. I think also just that moment of just slowing down and just really, you know, looking at the finer things rather than, you know, fast pace, let's do this, let's do that, let's just slow it down. And yeah, for me personally, there was a lot of slowing down, which I think we can all say was much needed. You know, as you said, Randolph, you know, you weren't running around touring, and it made you sort of think about, you know, your practice in a slightly different way. And with Josie too, it's, you know, you're not able to go out and listen to live music, but you're able to then just remember how much you appreciate about all of that, which is a really important lesson for us all to learn, I think.
I found that I had, when it all hit, first of all, I was thinking about my immediate family. I wanted to sort of keep them close. And then I was thinking about sort of the other community, the school and that my kids go to, and the other people that I work with locally. And I felt actually that's where I wanted to really concentrate my effort on other local performers and making sure that it felt like everything was being torn down, and I wanted to make sure there was still a scene here for us and for future performers when we all come blinking out into the sun at the end of it. Do you think there are any services or facilities for musicians locally that could help that, support the local community, perhaps either in the creative quarter or outside of this area?
I mean, what's certainly been interesting with Payers Park is that's been used a little bit more for musicians, and I think that, you know, the potential there is really huge. Similarly, at Folkestone Harbour Arm, which is a space that we also manage, you know, there are opportunities there for, you know, when we have live gigs happening, for local musicians to actually start to sort of showcase some work in front of that. So I think there's still a little bit of work, certainly with my hat for Folkestone Harbour Arm, that we could be doing. And yeah, I think, you know, Creative Folkestone are really good at their ability to facilitate these things, and I know Llewellyn Ward and Randolph, you two, have been working together to sort of, you know, bring that out from young musicians, and, you know, these are the steps forward, aren't they? And I think collectively we can just sort of make sure, you know, through some of the work that you're doing to sort of like support young people in a more functional way.
I really liked the sound mirror sessions.
Yeah.
That you did, Randolph, with Llewellyn.
Completely forgot.
I know, they were amazing.
They were really, really good for just finding out about who we've got locally, musicians. I thought that was a really great thing over lockdown.
What made you think of doing that, Randolph? And if you, in case anybody doesn't know about it, maybe you could tell them what it entailed. The sound
So Sound Mirror Sessions was a place for musicians to find out where, you know, a place for musicians to collaborate, find out what was happening locally, and to network. So it kind of happened because of the conversation, again, these slower conversations that you have in passing and relationships that you're building over time. Llewellyn had a lesson, because she sings as well, and she had a lesson with me, and we were just talking about Folkestone, just like how much we loved it and would like to see more of this happening. And she goes, God, it'd be so good if there was an opportunity that we could get musicians together to have this type of conversation, first and foremost. And just whether it's to jam, but as well to have a bit more of a melting pot of networking and opportunities and just knowing who you are locally. And then the lockdown took place. And then we were able to get some funding from Southeast Creatives to basically put these networking events on Zoom. And as a result of my, using our skill sets, we combined news, music, and live performances as much as we could, which then led into creating music videos in advance and going round to people's places and using. We had Open Sesame here as well, so that we were having musicians coming into the space and with some lighting, we kind of realized, oh my gosh, even just that is actually quite a big thing already, just to kind of go, oh my gosh, there's some lights on me, and it actually looks really good. And then you do a video, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a real video. It's not a Zoom, Instagram, it's actually got some sort of substance that, again, I started to think, I'd love to be able to give musicians something that they can use, because being able to market yourself and being able to have some material that just updates people where you are at, but as well is kind of like, it's this whole thing of the ecosystem around an artist in terms of the different strands and the different ways that people get to find out about you. So this was it. It was a conversation like this on Zoom with cameo music, clapping, and we had a really wonderful audience, I think. Yeah.
So you're convincing me that's what you should do during your residency at Creative Fix. Continue that. That sounds really amazing. Is it something you think would work actually outside the digital realm if everyone got in the room together?
Well, the original plan is it was meant to be something which would be like this. But I found a real beauty in the simplicity for the artists to be able to be in their own homes and to be able to effectively, because we were looking across, we looked at Folkestone, but we were looking across Kent as well, to young artists who were looking to connect with, and we had a rapper in Ashford, we had a lot of local people, we had smugglers, up in Deal, as well. And again, nobody could get together because of the COVID situation, so it was so ideal. It didn't take, it took off the pressure of having to go with equipment and da-da-da. So I think what we were thinking about is to create a night, a sort of night which has that type of feeling, where you have two bands that come together, and it's a networking event, obviously, for musicians, but there's a way that those two bands can maybe collaborate, and we have this conversation as well.
Well, we're thinking about touring and perhaps COVID making us look a bit closer to home for our work, and our interest becoming closer to home. But actually, offering that online means that if you are a touring artist, you're away a lot, and often events happen in the evening. You can't make those because you've got a gig, hopefully. So people can catch up if they've missed it. And I would say that I benefited from this period of gaining new skills in digital technology, actually. I've been forced very quickly into upping my game, because I went from being somebody who was really good live and felt confident expressing myself that way, and that I could give some expertise about that, to having to teach my students online, to perform online, and it wasn't going to be good enough to have, oh no, wait a minute, oh no, can you see me? You had to get beyond that really fast, because you still had to look like the experienced professional that you were straight away. And I think actually what would have taken me 5-10 years to slowly, begrudgingly learn all of that stuff, I had to learn literally in 5 and 10 weeks and make sure that I was ahead of the curve, like I would be with any of the equipment that I use or any of the ideas that I'm having. I want to try and be looking forward with that. So I think I don't know if you found this with the people joining you from the other end. Actually, I was talking about this production here where the chorus were online, beamed into the theatre. Well, that access-wise, that is fantastic, because people who aren't able to leave home for whatever reason can be part of a live performance. But we all had to go through the pain barrier of learning to use that equipment. And it does mean, though, that our audiences are more capable. You know, there's less of an ageist thing that online performances can only be for young people and stuff like that. You know, I think a lot of the amateur musicians as well have adopted all of this technology and are able to join in. So I'm thinking now of working in more of a hybrid way, I suppose, like that performance, but also maybe the audience, like we've got today, you know, streaming and that sort of thing. Got to try and think of that as an access issue, not just as a kind of nice to have in my archive that people never look at on my website, you know. Is there any thoughts of in that vein that have occurred to you as you about access or about using digital in your future work?
Just when I've been teaching online, there were some people that preferred it completely, and not just for reasons of having to go to another building, but just for their confidence and to be in a space that they're living in and that they're used to. And when I was able to teach in person again, a few people have chosen just to stay online, and it's worked out really well for them. So I think it's great that it's like you say, forced us all to have that as another avenue that people can choose to access what we do through. Definitely.
That's brilliant. Now, if you don't mind, guys, I'm just going to ask the audience if they've got any questions. Maybe I'll give them 1 minute to think about it. Are you feeling brave? Got anything you want to ask? Oh, hands up straight away. Hello, gentleman that I don't know at all in the front row.
Question for Denice, really. Profound sound. I mean, it's you know, had an absence for a year or two. Really missed it.
1 second, Nathan. I've just remembered that people at home aren't going to be able to hear you.
Profound sound. Is it going to make a comeback?
I mean, we actually managed to do Profound Sound in 2020, just before the lockdown. And we are Hot Salvation, George and Nat, they've moved up to the north, which we miss them dearly. And we have been talking about Profound Sound 2022, but I can't share anything yet.
Anyone else? Any other questions for any of the artists here today? Jim.
So kind of a general one for everyone. Can you just repeat it? Just because mic sharing, can you repeat it?
Repeating, and rushing back.
So like, you've all mentioned kind of things that you've learned or things that have been positive over COVID. And just wondering about, as some things are returning, and sometimes we can be eager to just sort of pick everything up again as it goes, are there things that you're consciously doing to kind of protect some of those things that you've learned or you know, discovered in that time?
So for the audience at home, Jim was just asking all of us really, are we eager to jump back into the way we were working before, or are there things that we've learnt during this period that we'd like to hold on to? Who'd like to have a go at that?
So the first part was...
Are you eager just to jump straight back into how we were working before COVID?
No.
Thank you, moving on.
I think as well, Jim, everything's changed. I don't, there's nothing to, because I'm not the same person. Everything has changed. The industry, regardless of how we look at it, has changed. You know, if I even think about touring, what does that mean now? Visa? Is there a visa for us to? None of that's been created. I know that in Europe, for example, because of that situation with Brexit as well as with the COVID situation, they're turning inwardly on the other countries within Europe to book across, because it's easier for them to work that out. So you know, there are things which have literally, there is a question mark, and it's kind of a top-down thing as well, which is like those who have a big team of people around or have a record label will start to maybe find those routes forward. I am a bit concerned for the younger ones who want to start to tour and want to start to really move and have this vision of going into Europe, because it's where I learned a lot of my craft, was to go to different audiences in Europe and different landscapes in Europe. So that nobody's calling me at this present moment, and at the same time I said a very simple thing to myself, which was when I was going to Europe, there were certain things that I was going to Europe to do. Some of it was very, very commercialized work, I would say. So it was to do with, I would go and sing other people's materials, going to the Ukraine, pretty much all through lockdown. I was still managed to find a way to go to the Ukraine. And I was singing cover songs, and I just recognized through this time, it really brought me home and said, I will not sing anybody else's material, because I'm reinvesting in original material again. And so just that statement has defined pretty much any decision, any call that comes in is defined on the basis of original work or commercialized work. And they have two different perspectives in my mind. One is 100% original work. If something came up with a big enough price, I might do it, but it's not my agenda. It's not my agenda.
So your focus has moved there.
100%.
I mean, I, as an artist who used to tour a lot, mostly around the UK actually, I was beginning to think, okay, climate crisis also, I'm going to have to think about how many cars we take when we tour. Are there other ways of being able to take less vehicles, maybe even travel on the train, by insisting that venues provide better equipment for me to perform with? But these were just sort of kernels of ideas, but actually I'm thinking about changing the whole way I work so I don't have to tour because I have a young family and it doesn't really suit me anyway. But it was a question I was starting to ask myself, which again, the whole thinking around it has been accelerated, even though it's been a time of quiet and stillness in some ways. The thinking around issues like adoption of technology and trying to support my ideals, I suppose, politically as well. I've been able to look at that much more clearly and been seeing that there are other ways without actually getting in the car and burning the fossil fuels. Anything else you'd like to add to Jim's question? Anything you're going to keep?
I think for me, I think I'm still quite early on in my career, and I was as the first lockdown came in, I think I was kind of going through a transitional stage anyway. So for me, it's not really a matter of whether I want to go back to how I was before, but I'm just now completely accepting of the fact that I'm just moving through a kind of fluid motion of my career, adapting as different things happen and learning from it and growing for the next thing that's going to come. I think that's how I look at it.
So it sounds like you're a more resilient performer now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And what about you, Denice? What about sort of getting people to come from a long distance to come and perform here? Is that still on the agenda, or?
Potentially.
That was an amazing Icelandic theremin player you had.
But potentially, those things are worth considering for sure. I think for Folkestone Fringe, what's interesting is, as these two artists have said, their practices have changed through this experience. And so as an organisation, that's for us to sort of be really fully there and listening to the new sort of directions that these artists want to deliver their work in. And, that will change how our organisation continues to work in that sense.
So that makes you resilient too, really, that being able to listen and support the artists rather than having your own agenda. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any last questions, or otherwise I might wrap it up for today? No? Okay. Well, I'd just like to say thanks very much to Creative Folkestone for organising this event this afternoon. There's another one actually tomorrow, but it's starting at 5 o'clock, so it's more of a kind of evening early drinkies kind of thing than a lunchtime thing. And it's being run by Screen South in the Glassworks. And it's just focusing on their work, and particularly the opening of some new facilities there that are using digital technology that will be of interest to musicians and other creatives alike. There is Terry Smith's piece in here at 7:30 on Saturday night, in which you can see Randolph performing. And I think that's it, really. I'd just like to thank the guests for today, Denice Dever, Josie Matcham, and Randolph Matthews.
Thanks, Anna.